What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Five Pod, episode number 54. Pleasure to be back. We had a little break. We're back now, though. I'm, of course, your co-host, Kyle Morello, and next to me here, the one and only, returning from Mexico after vacation, Jake Copestick. Cope, how was it?
It was good. It was really hot, really, really hot. I've never been so hot in my life. Right by the equator. I was on Puerto Vallarta, the west side of
Not
Mexico.
even in
So,
Vegas?
oh yeah, I mean the humidity was bad. We had one day where it was 94, the real feel was 105, humidity was 77. It was like a sauna,
Oh
just every time. Yeah, my
my
shirt was like
God.
sticking to me. It was so hot. I've never been so hot in my life. I managed to walk out with minimal sunburn, which I'll take a big W on my part. But it was good. It's good to get away for a little bit. Resort was nice. I got to watch the Broad Street Birds a little bit poolside, which is cool.
There you
But yeah, it
go.
was a good time. Good, nice to have a little vacation. And now we're back. As you look at the calendar, Kyle, and we're almost in August. We're almost
Almost
at
in
the dog days
August.
of summer here, man. Or
Yeah.
I mean, college basketball terms like we kind of are already, but summer's flying. But
If
time
you
flies
talk
when you're
about
having fun.
baseball season, if you talk about baseball season, we're entering the dog days. August is the dog days.
Yeah.
And this is the last episode in July here. So pretty crazy. We're soon we'll be in September, which some people technically consider fall. And you know what happens in fall? College basketball tips off. So
And football.
and football, of course. I'm not gonna forget about college football. Believe me, that
Mhm.
tips off next month. I mean, we're
Yeah.
right there. We're just 3 or 4 weeks away here. Um, but for our purposes of this podcast, we're not too far from college basketball. Cope, don't kill the
Mhm.
messenger. Don't kill the messenger. But we're not too far away. Anyway, so we took a couple weeks off here, or we took a week off here. It's been a couple weeks since we've had our last episode. So we got some news for you. Some more significant than others. So we're gonna do something a little different here. We're gonna try this out. We're gonna go Cope's quick hitters off the bat here. Cope's gonna run down a few things here in Big Five land that maybe we don't need to go crazy in depth to, but definitely something to report on. So Cope, take it away.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna start with our Pope's quick hitters. I'm gonna touch on a bunch of different stuff. We're just gonna go rapid fire, and then we'll get into the good stuff. So unfortunately, to start off on a somber note, St. Joseph's and Big Five Hall of Famer Rap Curry did pass away recently. He played at St. Joseph's from 1990 to 1994. Started 106 of his 107 games that he appeared in. Unfortunately, tore his ACL sophomore year, limited to 20 games, was a surefire pro. That's all I saw. Dick Weiss tweet out. Apparently, this was a like surefire NBA player if this injury didn't happen. But regardless of that, still left St. Joe's in the Big Five. One of the best players we've ever seen. Second all time in assists at St. Joe's. Seventh all time in steals. 25th in points. Inducted into St. Joseph's Hall of Fame in 1999. Big Five Hall of Fame in 2008. Won two Big Five titles with the Hawks, and he played his high school basketball at Penn Wood and later became the AD there when they won the PIAA state championship in 2006. So unfortunately, we have to start off on a note like that. But rest in peace to Rap Curry, a legend of the game, both at St. Joseph's and the Big Five. We'll move on to some conference news. So the CAA that Drexel and Delaware play in, known as the Colonial Athletic Association, they've changed their name. They will keep the same logo, but the name will change. They are now the Coastal Athletic Association. So we're going to have to talk Drexel this year, and we'll put some respect on their name. We'll make sure we say it right as a technicality. They're now the Coastal Athletic Association. They've added some teams in recent years: Monmouth, Stony Brook, Hampton, North Carolina A&T, and Campbell. James Madison left for the Sun Belt to play D1 AA football, so they're not there anymore. But they have this influx of new teams. They now have 14 schools on in 9 different states along the Atlantic coast. So I guess it's fitting that there's a name change. Moving on to some recruiting. Villanova in the running for two big-time recruits coming up. The first being Archbishop Woods Jaleel Bethea, five-star guard in the class of 2024. Miami, Kansas, Syracuse, and Alabama are the rest of the schools in this top five. Miami, of course, a big threat with all the guys they love to land from Philadelphia that play well for them. Bethea is the number one prospect in Pennsylvania, according to On3's industry rankings. We've talked about him before. This would be a huge get for them if they can keep a local guy home, especially one as highly touted as him. The next is Jaden Glover, who not only has Villanova in his final eight schools, Kyle, but how about the Hawks? St. Joseph's is in there as well. We talked about Glover before we touched on him. He's a four-star small forward, 6'6", from the Package School in Hillside, New Jersey. He is the number 57 player in the class of 2024, according to On3, and the number 3 player in the state of New Jersey. Also has Seton Hall, St. John's, Ohio State, Providence, Illinois, and Creighton. So unfortunately for Villanova, like half the Big East wants this guy too. But how about St. Joe's being in the mix for a guy like that too in the Final Eight? You have all these power schools, Big East schools. You have an A10 school in St. Joe's there, so good for them. Staying with St. Joe's, they've promoted Philip Lawrence Ricks to player development coach. He's spent the last 2 years as a graduate manager, where he earned his master's degree in organizational development and leadership. And his responsibilities will include designing, implementing, and coaching on-court skill development programs and creating advanced drills and scouting reports, video analysis for the student athletes. Additionally, he'll assist in daily operations of the program, including travel arrangements and academic monitoring. He played 4 years at Marist, appeared in 100 games there. Also had a bit of a professional career as well, played a couple years overseas, was in Portugal, Spain, and Ireland. So we've seen a little bit of coaching moving with John Griffin going to Bucknell. They've now promoted one of their own, Philip Lawrence Ricks, to be the player development coach. And of course, last but not least, we'll talk some Summer League, because that ended while I was on vacation. Cam Whitmore, winning the Summer League MVP, averaged over 20 points a game, 5.6 boards, and 3 steals. Also had Jermaine Samuels from Villanova on a Summer League team. Kyle, it's almost like you watch this guy dominate Summer League and you say, I wonder what made that guy fall to 20. I still don't know. I'm still perplexed. This stuff about him being Neptune talking bad about him. Kyle Neptune was on a television station in Houston, talked very good about him for a couple minutes on there. Everything that people were knocking this guy and his fall, I think it's a farce. I don't know where this came from out of nowhere. The health, like we know he had an injury in high school. We know he had the thumb injury in Villanova. I still don't know why this guy fell. He dominated Summer League. And yes, I get it, it's Summer League. But he played well there. You saw everything. You saw the athleticism. You saw the power and the strength driving in the lane. He was making some tough shots and some tough threes off the dribble. The 3-ball looked nice. I don't know what else you could have asked for him. He was terrific in Summer League, and I still don't know why this guy fell. It's just ridiculous to me. So for the first ever edition of Cope's Quick Hitters, Kyle, I'm going to do my best Jim Gardner impression. We touched on some smaller things when I'll get into the big stuff. So with that being said, Kyle, the big story tonight is?
Big story tonight is the Big 5 schedule being announced. And it's one of the bigger stories of the summer too, honestly. I mean, this is obviously what we live for. We are the Big 5 pod. We want to talk about these things. So why don't we get into it? Why don't we break it down? Now, if you did see our graphic last week, we did post this, but we're going to break it down here again because we haven't obviously had the opportunity to talk about it yet because we were away. So here we go. These are all in November and early December too, which is pretty cool. It's very much at the start of the season. Monday, November 6th, Drexel will be making its inner Big 5 debut. They will be facing LaSalle at Tom Gola Arena. Friday, November 10th, Penn will be at St. Joe's at Hagan Arena. Monday, November 13th, Nova will be at Penn at the Palestra, which obviously is the premier historic venue of the Big 5. The next day, Tuesday, November 14th, Temple will be at Drexel. So Drexel will be hosting their first inner Big 5 game as an official member of the Big 5, of course, against the Owls. Wednesday, November 29th, we've got a little bit of a doubleheader here, though not like we had last year. It's not going to be at the same venue. St. Joe's will be at Villanova in the Holy War. And the last 2 years, it's been nationally televised. Don't know this year yet. Obviously, it's only July, so we don't know if it's going to be nationally televised yet. I would hope so. I don't know what else CBS might have going on Wednesday night, or CBS Sports rather. But I also don't really know why this is a midweek game. I mean, this is traditionally a afternoon Saturday game in a prime, college basketball watching window. And it is not that. And that's kind of really disappointing. Cope, I'll let you break that down after I'm done breaking down everything here. But personally, I'm pretty disappointed that this is not a Saturday game. Wednesday games just don't have the same effect. I mean, we saw that at the Big 5 doubleheader last year, that they hosted it on a Wednesday and it did not work out the way that we thought it would. Obviously Villanova wasn't a part of it last year, but regardless. And then the second matchup of that day is LaSalle at Temple, which of course, if you're keeping track, that means Fran Dunphy will be returning to Leah's Core Center for the first time since he stepped down as Temple coach and retired for a couple of years there. Unfortunately, his successor, Aaron McKee, is not there anymore, but still part of Temple Athletics as a whole. And Adam Fisher will be taken over this year. Should be a very good game. But again, why can't that be a standalone game? Same thing with the Holy War. I think that should be a standalone game too. It's definitely interesting scheduling, and I will definitely let you break that down in a second here. But then, of course, the big kicker here, as we know, and we broke down on the show before this podcast, Saturday, December 2nd is the Big Five Classic triple header at the Wells Fargo Center. Those games previous to that we just went over will be determining who were the seeds in that one. So there'll be a championship game. There'll be a 3-4 and a 5-6 playing each other. So obviously the matchups for that are to be determined. We probably won't know until the night of Wednesday, November 29th, when those last two games are played, but should be something historic because this has never happened before where they've had this triple header at the Wells Fargo Center. Obviously, Drexel joining makes the triple header possible. It should be something really, really interesting, really, really fun. And, we've broken that down before, and we're going to break it down again over the next few months before this happens. But Cope specifically, I do want you to talk about the schedule as a whole in general, but I want you to break down Wednesday, November 29th first. When you have the Holy War, you have Fran Duffy coming back to Temple. Why isn't the Holy War on a Saturday? And why isn't Fran Dunphy and LaSalle going back to Temple? At least a standalone game, if not on a weekend.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I don't. Number one, I don't know. I would think the only reason is when these teams are building out a non-conference schedule and they now have to build in. Well, we can't schedule a Saturday non-conference game with the triple header going on, and depending on, like, we're going to talk about St. Joe's playing a Saturday game in December coming up pretty soon. If the non-conference schedule, I guess the way it shakes out, if they're trying to schedule and they have Saturday games, whether it's a bye game or they're traveling somewhere, like St. Joe's going to Kentucky for a multi-team event, I guess that might play into it a little bit. I really don't know what else to say about that as to why this isn't a Saturday game, and that's exactly what it is. It's traditionally that day. I know for a fact the last 2 years it's been on CBS. It's been a nationally televised game, but especially this year, this is the first year of the new format. This is the best St. Joe's team in the Billy Lang era, and this is going to be a very good Nova team that is going to be better than it was last year. And now, hopefully, injuries don't take a toll on them like they did preseason, like they did during the season. But when you have Villanova going to be very good again, will be one of the best teams in the Big East this year. The best team that Billy Lang's had. And there's a Wednesday night game that's also going to overshadow, like you said, Fran Dunphy going back to Temple. I love the format every day before. Make every Big Five game in the pod play a standalone game on that day. Don't play two games in one day. I like that. But here, you have two of the biggest storylines, and then ultimately what I think is two of the best teams in the Big Five, and they play on the same night. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Hopefully there's some sort of nationally televised deal, whether that's ESPN, maybe CBS. I mean, CBS did a couple. No, I think they did Penn and Villanova on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night at the Finn this year, so maybe they can still get a CBS broadcast for that game. But what I also want to see in general with the schedule as well, how about some games on NBC Sports? How about some games,
Yeah.
even if it's just televised locally? Like, how about not just an ESPN Plus game that some people might have trouble getting? Why don't we put this on national television? If we want this Big Five brand to get more attention, we want more people to know about this. We have to put this on TV for people to see, not just on ESPN Plus. So overall, obviously, really disappointed that there's a doubleheader on a Wednesday, no less. And I just hope that there's some sort of national TV broadcast here, because all these games, they should be standalone, no matter how you stack them. But that St. Joe's Villanova game has to be on a Saturday. It has to be a standalone game on a Saturday. You have to be able to get people that don't have to come from work, can do it in their free time on a Saturday and make it there. Because whether it's at the Finn, it's at Hagen Arena, they will sell the place out, or it will be damn near full. So disappointed in the doubleheader for sure. Wish Fran Dunphy going back to Temple was a bigger storyline as well for them to make a standalone game. But it's probably just the way the non-conference schedule shakes out, because scheduling is very, very hard. I've seen a bunch of college coaches talk about how impossible it is to build that out. And, if you can only make a Saturday work, or you also got to run on the other team's non-conference schedules as well. So I'm sure that's a whole mess in and of itself. So wish it was different, but that might just be what it comes down to. I can't think of another reason why you'd play the Holy War during the week.
I can't either. And I mean, like, to play devil's advocate for why there is the doubleheader on the 29th, the Wednesday before the doubleheader, or the tripleheader rather, it's because of that reason. It's the Wednesday before the tripleheader. I think they want to try to hype up a little bit, getting to that point and having these two premier matchups in the Big Five happen. I could see that, which in itself isn't a bad thing to come to fruition. But I don't know. I think these two games both deserve standalone games, and we both said that in this segment here. But another thing too, even if they're not national games, at least put them on NBC Sports Philly. Excuse me, hiccups here. At least put them on NBC Sports Philly. Like, that will make a lot of sense. You get your local audience. It's on a channel that everybody can get. I don't know. Maybe we don't know things that are happening, and maybe these games will be more readily available to Big Five fans than we think they will. But if they're just on ESPN Plus, like you said, I'm all disappointed. I'm not gonna lie to you. And obviously, the Big Five tripleheader won't just be on ESPN Plus. That's going to be televised. But for the other games, especially that doubleheader on Wednesday, the 29th of November, yeah, I would be pretty disappointed if they both weren't readily available to Big Five fans. So we will hoping for the best news there. All right. Speaking of scheduling, we got a few more other scheduling notes here before we wrap up. First one about those Temple Owls that we just mentioned. They will be playing Navy in the Veterans Classic in Annapolis, Maryland on Friday, November 10th. A little bit during that Big Five schedule we just talked about. Pretty exciting event here. The event also features Charleston and Duquesne, which, two pretty good teams last year. Charleston obviously had a really, really good year. And Duquesne, we talked about them in the A10 a lot. They had a pretty decent year as well. According to sportsreference.com, Temple owns a 19-9 record all time against Navy. Pretty good. Not gonna lie to you. Not a numbers guy, but that seems pretty good here. And Navy is coached by Ed Chellis, who coached at Penn State from 2003 to 2011. And they've been pretty good. They've been tied for second or finished in second in the Patriot League in each of the last two seasons. So this is not a slouch of a non-conference matchup that they're going to be having here. They're obviously traveling Navy too, which will, be in favor of the midshipmen. But what do you think of this this multi-team event here up in Annapolis, Maryland, that Temple's participating in?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool they get to go down there for that event. St. Joe's was at the same event last year. Billy Lang, of course, was the head coach at Navy for a while. So pretty cool they get to go down for this. Yeah, Navy, it's a good Patriot League team. Obviously, it's a small team that is, as far as Ken Palmer, the net, isn't going to move the needle for you, but still cool they get to go down there and play. And like I said, and as you pointed out, they've been a good team in the Patriot League the last 2 years. Something I like, but like taking a dive into the stats here. Sixth in free throw percentage defense, 357th in two foul participation. Shocker, Kyle. These Navy midshipmen, they are very disciplined and they don't foul very often.
You don't say that military school is disciplined. How about that?
Yeah, shocker. I thought that was a fun little stat to throw out there. So, but yeah, it's not a bad team by any means. Cool they get to go down there for the Veterans Classic and go down to Annapolis and play. And as you pointed out, really, really good mid-major matchup there. The other game in this event, Charleston versus Duquesne. That is a damn good mid-major matchup right there. Duquesne's going to be very good. Probably, I would say they're 4 or 5, maybe even higher than that in the A10 right now. They have a lot of guys coming back. They brought in some transfers, so they're going to be good. And then Charleston, they lost some guys as we'll highlight because we're going to talk about St. Joe's playing them, but they're still going to be very good. They're still going to be very good. I love Pat Kelsey when he's coaching. I mean, that guy, he's got a ton of fire. His eyes like pop out of his head when he's made it a call. He's awesome, and those guys play their tails off for him. So 2 good games here, but yeah, cool little event they get to go down to. Not exactly like a powerhouse team, of course in Navy, but like you said, been good the last 2 years. Cool little event to get to go down to. Good mid-major opponent for them. They'll get the face pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely a quality opponent for Temple here. This is no slouch whatsoever. Should be a pretty exciting matchup. And personal anecdote a little bit, but Temple visited Annapolis, Maryland for the Military Bowl in 2019, which I was there for and filmed for as a student, part of All Sports Update. Unfortunately, They got a 50 burger put on them against
Hmm.
versus North Carolina. I think that was Mac Wilson's first year as head coach of the Tar Heels. I'm trying to think of who was on that team. I'm like completely blanking right now.
You said Mac Wilson. You're thinking of a wrong guy. Mac Brown.
Mac Brown.
Mac
That's what I
Wilson
meant.
played at Alabama.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, it all blends together. But anyway, um, was that Sam Howell? I don't think it was Sam Howell.
Oh, I think it might have been.
Was this like Sam Howell's like freshman year,
It might have
sophomore
been
year?
because I think Russo was still the quarterback at
Russo was
Cincinnati.
still our quarterback. Yes.
Yeah, that was at the first
Um,
Rod Carey year where he like did well because he
yes.
inherited all of Jeff
Because he
Collins'
inherited Jeff
players, and
Collins'
then we
roster.
found
Yeah.
out how bad he was the year after.
Yeah. They had Daz. I can't remember his last name.
Daz Newsome.
Daz Newsome. I
I
was gonna
mean,
say
yeah, I
Daz
remember
Cameron.
that guy,
That's
Daz
that's Mike
Newsome.
Cameron's son, baseball player. Yeah, that was a good team. That was a good team. And they also might have had Michael Carter too, who's a Jet now. So, uh, yeah, that was brutal. But hopefully, it's not too bad for Temple this time going up to Annapolis. Actually, facing Navy too in this one, so we'll see. You mentioned that was a cool event. Here's another pretty cool event that's going on here. St. Joe's participating in this one. It will be the Holiday Hoop Fest right around the holidays, about a week and a half before Christmas. 9 days actually. They're playing Iona at UBS Arena on Long Island, excuse me, on Saturday, December 16th. Where also Bryant will be playing Towson. So nice little mid-major event there too. Tobin Anderson, first year head coach of Iona, obviously he's replacing Rick Pitino. We know he went to St. John's. We're gonna talk about him a whole lot this year. Don't you worry. Obviously, Tobin Anderson, if you remember the tournament, was the coach of Fairleigh Dickinson, who upset Purdue. Had a close one with Florida Atlantic. This is going to be an interesting one. Iona, 11 new players this year, only one returning player. St. Joe's supposed to be a lot better this year than they have been in the last probably 5 or 6 or so. So Cope, what do you make of this Holiday Hoops Fest here going on Long Island?
I really like this game for St. Joe's as far as the opponent goes. Now to go play somebody in a smaller conference on a neutral floor and go to them, which I guess you could say is a home game for Iona. I know you got to go on Long Island, you got to
It's
travel.
closer. It's closer to Iona than it is to Hawk Hill.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure. Obviously,
yeah,
with them being in New Rochelle.
yeah.
So I guess that is a little bit weird to me that you almost wouldn't do like maybe I think a home and home against Iona would be great because they are a very good mid-major program. I believe they've been at least a finalist in the MAC championship game 7 of the last 9 years. Prior to last year when Ryder upset them, they'd won 5 straight MAC championships and represented them 5 straight times in the tournament. And even with Rick Pitino leaving, I still think Tobin Anderson's going to do a really good job with this team, and they're going to be one of the top teams in the MAC. And even with all these new players, this is still going to be a really, really good mid-major game for them. You mentioned that all these guys left. Believe this is easily the most amount of new players. I know Rick Pitino had to bring in a whole bunch as well. St. John's and Iona believe lead the transfer portal in terms of bringing in new freshmen and new guys with all the turnover. So they only bring back Osborne Shima, a big center who can pass a little bit, who's a nice player. And they bring in some guys that we've seen in the Big Five, and also a guy from Newman Goretti. They bring in Eden Tretu from Harvard and Cam Kristoviak from Dartmouth. And they bring in Sultan Adewale from Newman Goretti to tie it all in here. Some guys that have played against Penn, and then a guy that we saw play for Newman Goretti at the Palestra for the Catholic League Championship game, which is pretty cool. But here's the thing about Tobin Anderson. Another point I want to touch on. That same Fairleigh Dickinson team, Kyle, went into Hagen Arena in a bye game, scored 97 on St. Joe's,
Yeah.
and left with a W. So this, there's a lot of new players, so it's kind of hard to tell what this team's gonna look like. But I do know this: if you saw Fairleigh Dickinson play that first round game against Purdue, I don't know if I've ever seen a team play so hard in my life. Those guys left it all on the floor. They played 120% the whole game. I don't know how they didn't just I don't like those guys must have been so tired after that game. They left it all on the floor, and this they will play hard for Tobin Anderson. I know that this is not a team that you can just run by talent wise. They're gonna play hard, and if you don't play up to 100%, they're going to beat you just like they did last year. I'm sure Billy Lang is going to remember that a little bit when Tobin Anderson's team came in that they should have beat 99 out of 100 times, and they almost put up 100 on them on their home gym, and so I really like what they did. We're going to talk about them playing Charleston as well coming up soon. Sorry for the spoiler, but with this
Okay.
game at Iona, the next one we're going to talk about, I really like these two mid-major matchups that they're going to play. Because although they're teams in smaller conferences, they're going to be at the top of their conferences. And that's, for me personally, that's what I want to see out of a non-conference schedule. Sure, you got to play your bye games, but I want to see games like this, even if it's a team in a smaller conference at a low major, still very good and still a really, really good test for your team early in the season.
Yeah, absolutely is. And listen, you mentioned it, so why don't we get right into it too? This is going to be a hell of a test for St. Joe's. College of Charleston. Obviously, they were ranked at one point last year. They were a pretty good college basketball team, 31-3 last year, and they're going to be facing St. Joe's on December 21st. So right after this holiday hoop fest, after they play Iona, I believe it's their next game against College of Charleston here. Obviously, you mentioned Pat Kelsey led Charleston to that 31-3 record. They lost to San Diego State in the 12-5 matchup, which, by the way, if you did pick Charleston, you're a sucker. That San Diego State team was pretty. If you didn't know Copestick, I don't know if you knew this, but they did make the national championship last year. It's a pretty good team. Pretty good team. That's no offense to Charleston either. They played their butts off, but they lost a few guys, which, I'll let you talk on how much that will affect them in this matchup and for this season as a whole. But this is a team that gets up and down, shoots a lot of threes, kind of similar to what Adam Fisher's trying to do at Temple. 71st ranked team in Ken Palm last year. They were a really good basketball team. St. Joe's going to have their handful. But what do you make of some of these guys that they lost this year and just this matchup as a whole, with St. Joe's keeping a lot of the same guys and also adding, a freshman class on top of that?
But yeah, it's still going to be a good team with some of the guys they brought in, but they lost Dalton Bolin, Pat Robinson, who's actually a Philadelphia guy, played a Holy Family, and Ryan Larson as well. So they're going to lose three starters for them, three big time contributors. But I still believe in Pat Kelsey that he's going to have a good team. Still going to be top of the Coastal Athletic Association. So yeah,
that's going to be so weird to get used to.
Yeah, I made sure I was on top of that one. But the thing I really like about this is, how about St. Joe's traveling to them? I remember a couple years ago when James Madison upset Virginia, but Virginia went to James Madison to play. And Tony Bennett was saying when he started out as a small, I think it was a Green Bay. When he started out as a first time head coach at a small school, he still thought it was important that when he got a big job, he still went to go play the smaller schools. So credit to St. Joe's for going down to Charleston to go play them. But it's gonna be a good team. And even with them losing everybody, they're gonna get up and down. They're gonna shoot a lot of threes. And last year, Kyle, this team was 188th in Ken Palm at defending the 3-point line. So you got to play good transition defense. You got to find shooters. You got to find trailers. You got to defend this team, or they're gonna light it up on you like they do a lot of teams. But really good team last year. They won 19 in a row, and then they went to Market Street to play Drexel, and then that winning streak was no more. But yeah, really good team that made the tournament. I'll toot my own horn a little bit. I was grinding the late night tip-offs of San Diego State, the 10, the 10:30, the 11, staying up, going to bed at 2 a.m. because I was watching this team. Knew they were that good. Had them in the Final Four in one bracket. So don't like to do that often, but I was all over the San Diego State team, and I was not a sucker who picked Charleston in the 12-5 matchup. So I'll give myself a pat on the back there. But yeah, really good opponent here. I love the way they're building this non-conference schedule. Like I said, they're going to Kentucky. They're going to play Villanova in the Big Five, at least in pod play. They're going to play Villanova, which is big because the pods are going to switch around, and maybe that won't happen. So in the conference schedule they're putting together, and I love when you go play these good mid-major teams instead of just picking these bye games and eating up on like an NEC team or something like that. Even though they didn't do that last year, it's fairly big as it was the NEC. So really like this matchup for them. Going to be a different team, but nonetheless a really good opponent. And Charleston themselves, like I said, they're playing Duquesne. They played UNC the last 2 years. They're putting together a nice non-conference schedule as well, because they didn't want to be in a situation where they're 31-3 or they lose a game. They're 30-4. Say they lost to, I believe it was UNC Wilmington in the CAA championship. If you're 30-4, I think you should get in the tournament.
Oh yeah.
They're building up a non-conference schedule, wanting to play teams like St. Joe's that are projected to be in the top of the A10. So if that happens again, they won't be playing in the NIT, and they'll be getting a at-large bid in the NCAA tournament too. So for both sides, really like the matchup, and credit to St. Joe's for going down there.
Yeah, it's going to be not easy for either team, especially for St. Joe's going down there. It's definitely going to be hard. So something to look forward to, though. I mean, I'm excited. This is a pretty cool matchup right around the holidays too. A few days before Christmas. Definitely something to look forward to for sure. Excited for that one. All right, last thing here before we wrap up. TBT going on right now. Big Five had two teams. Well, one Big Five team, of course, that we interviewed GM and Ryan Ramon Galloway, and also Broad Street Birds, which is a Temple affiliated school. So obviously we're going to cover them too. And let's go over those Broad Street Birds first. In a 4-5 matchup against the Beale Street Boys, which is the Memphis alum, and unfortunately they dropped that one 73-67. Pretty close game the whole way. Quentin Rose 19 points, Shiz Alston Jr. 11 points, Justin Hamilton and Miles Stevens had 10 points apiece. We're not able to squeak this out though. Cope, I know you said you were watching a poolside Mexico, a little jealous of that, but what did you think of this one?
Well, you're being a little generous saying it was close the whole way because they were down as many as 20, and I was watching them, and I said, "Oh, I hope this doesn't. I hope they don't go out like this."
I
But
try to be generous, but
in
yeah.
typical North Broad, typical Temple Tough fashion, they fought back, they made it close, but couldn't pull it out. But here's the thing: they did say on Twitter they want to run it back. Would love for that to happen. I would love for the Big Five team to be back as well, who we'll touch on. They just put themselves in too deep of a hole early. They faced a 20-point deficit. They ended up cutting it to single digits and making it close. But ultimately, that was their demise. They got themselves in a 20-point pit there. Unfortunately, against some guys that they played against as well in Memphis, who is still part of the AAC, probably will not be for much longer. I guess if I had to predict, but kind of sucks if to go out to a conference rival like that. But like I said, typical Temple Tough. They fought back, but kind of hard when you go down 20 and then obviously with TBT rules, they shut the clock off and then they get the Elam ending and, there's a target score. They only add 8 points. So if you're down that many, it's very, very hard to come back. But hopefully we can see these guys run it back next year. Nice to see Shiz Alston and Quint Rose out there again, too. So pretty cool to see some familiar faces in the Temple basketball space be out there again. And hopefully we can see them back next year.
It was incredible to see. I mean, especially for two Temple graduates who saw a few of these players play while we were at school as well. Very cool to see. Hopefully they'll be back next year. It'd be awesome to have them go on another run here, or try to go on another run at least. Speaking of Elam endings, Cope, we were watching this game in two different time zones. No, you were home. You were home.
Yeah, I was home. I was
on
watching.
Monday.
Yeah.
Eh, I'm so sorry for Big Five TBT, man. They were up as many as 12 in the Elam ending period, leading the whole way against the defending champion Blue Collar U, University of Buffalo, which my parents went to, so they were probably happy about this. Even though I don't think they knew it was going on, but it's fine. And just some sloppy play down the stretch, some shot making by Blue Collar U, and Big Five TBT ended up losing 78-77. At one point, they only had 6 points to go to the target score in the Elam ending, whereas Blue Collar U had 18. And obviously, we saw the result there. So disappointing to say the least. I mean, very, very proud of Rob Holloman and company for building this team that competed with the defending champions and team that's been there before. I know they'll be back, but unfortunately, this did not go the way that they wanted to, at least the end the way that they wanted to. So, Cope, we were both watching. I want to get your opinion on it. What went wrong here in the Elam ending period?
I think they maybe got a little bit tired. They were shorthanded. They said on the broadcast that Mo Watson was out with a hamstring injury. Devin Goodman wasn't there either. So they were a little shorthanded with two guys that would have provided some scoring and played a lot here. But yeah, I mean, Ramon Galloway was terrific. He had the 3 straight threes in the third quarter that were amazing. Just, no conscience putting them up at 27 in this game. And they really did play well. Clifton Moore was big on the defensive end. Sage Tolbert made some really nice plays. Everybody got in the box score and scored here. Ahmad Gilbert made 4 threes and was on fire. They just kind of ran out of steam here, and unfortunately, that's kind of the good and the bad with the Elam ending. You can't just let the clock run out. The game's got to end on a made basket, and to go up against a team like Buffalo, who CJ Massenberg, who made some big threes at the end. Nick Perkins struggled all game, but got it going at the end and then ended up hitting Elam Ender for them to win. It was a really good team they played against. Guys that like when we had previewed this game, I said that These guys have played with each other for a while, and they were very, very good when they did. That was that Buffalo team that made 6 seed in the tournament. I mean, imagine that MAC team getting a 6 seed in the tournament.
Yeah.
They were that good. But hey, they're called blue collar U. That was a blue collar W right there. They locked down on defense. Ramon Galloway was, I mean, he was terrific, but they were making him work for some of his buckets. So really unfortunate end there. Ramon's got to touch that ball at the end on that last possession with the game on the line. They definitely got to put it in his hands because he was ridiculous. He was unbelievable scoring the ball. From the 3-point line, getting the basket. He made a couple tough turnarounds in the paint too. So, I feel like he's definitely got to touch that ball there. But Clifton Moore, a really good look. I thought he did, and it unfortunately just didn't drop. But sometimes it's just basketball. They had some shots rim out that certainly could have won him the game. And then for the foul to happen, they make a free throw. They're at 77. They just need a point to win. And the rule of TBT is if you get fouled, you can't win on a non-shooting foul, but they'll give you a free throw in the ball that late in the Elam ending. Then they get the possession. Can't get a bucket. And then blue collar U just went on the run that they did in blue collar fashion. I saw in the crowd they panned there, and I remember when Oates was there. I don't know if they did it when Hurley was there, but they did it when Oates was there. All their fans would wear like a warehouse shirt, and it'd have the Buffalo logo on one side and then their name on the other. Like you were in a. My dad used to wear one with his name in cursive on the side, and it was cool. But yeah, unfortunate for them to go out the way they did because, like I said, they really did play well. They really did play well, and then they couldn't get across the finish line in the Elam ending, and literally everybody contributed. And to be shorthanded like they did and still take the champs down to the wire, obviously not the result you want, but cool to see. Turn the clock back a little bit, have Ramon Galloway putting up some points, Sage Tolbert, Clifton Moore, guys you've seen playing the Big Five in recent years, play well and contribute. Hopefully they can run it back. Last year, I know there's been 20th and only and Big Five teams in the past. Obviously, they played last year at Rucker Park. So hopefully they can run it back too. But painful, man, because he just wanted it would have been a huge upset because, of course, they gave the Big Five an 8 seed and they had to go play the 1 and the defending champs. It would have been a great upset for them to move on and keep playing. Just couldn't get across the finish line. But that can be the give and take with the Elam ending. Like I said, that you can't just run the clock out and slow it down. You still got to be in attack mode. You still got to finish the game on a meet. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can see him run it back. But unfortunate because I believe the TBT Twitter said that was the biggest Elam ending comeback in the history of the tournament. So I'm really unfortunate to be on that end, but hopefully we can see these guys back out next year. And hopefully if Mo Watson and Devin Goodman want to play too, they're healthy enough to do so, and they can, we can in the full strength.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And I know we've only talked to Rob once on here, and we've DM'd him a little bit on Twitter even after the fact too. Knowing what I think I know about him, I think he was going to easily want to run it back, and I think a lot of the guys of the team are going to want to run it back. That's just kind of the Philly DNA, that's the Big Five DNA. This thing happens, and it's really unfortunate, but you get back on your feet and you try again for it. So I definitely think that that's a strong possibility. Obviously, we'll see a year from now what happens, but it's unfortunate, but they did play their butts off for the vast majority of that game, and got to be proud. You got to be proud. That was not an easy matchup going into. The committee who selected the seeds and whatnot did not do them any favors, but it wasn't an excuse. It wasn't an excuse. So yeah, that is that. All right, we're in the final stage of this episode here. Final thoughts. Normally, I let you go first. I'm gonna go first this time, if you don't mind. I got something I want to say. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear J. Copestick. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my brother. The day that this episode airs, July 28th, is Cope's birthday. Usually he's in Mexico on his birthday, but he went a little early this year, so thankfully he'll be home. He's going to Luke Combs' concert on Friday. I'm going Saturday. I'm very excited. Cope, happy birthday. Hopefully you have a great one. Hopefully you enjoy the Luke Combs concert. I know you will. We're both pretty big Luke Combs fans, so I think we'll definitely both have fun, even though we're going separate days. But yeah, just wanted to say happy birthday. You probably did not see that coming, but yes, happy
That's
birthday.
all right. That was a wonderful rendition. That
Thank
was
you. I used the
beautifully
full
done.
name too. I didn't go government. I didn't go government name, but
Thank you
I
for that, by the way.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
But thank you. That was beautifully done.
Thank you.
Very good rendition. I've heard you sing before when you worked for the John DeBella show, and that was a distinction. This
Listen.
this not so much, but thank you.
Listen.
They're gonna be
I
23,
gotta
gonna be closer to 30 than 16. That's messed up. That don't
uh,
sound right.
excuse my language, but damn. And I'm older than
It's
you.
not. I don't mean to be like negative, but
No,
at the same time, like it's cool.
it's true.
Another year down.
It's true.
Can't believe I made it this far.
Hey, and you're still going. I do want to say about that John Bella though. First of all, was an intern. Second of all, I'm Jewish. I don't know Christmas songs, and I had to sing a Christmas song I never heard before. So that was problematic. That was problematic. I started harmonizing, and there was no one else playing. It was just me. I started playing the harmony notes. I don't know. It was rough, but I forgot about that until right now. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna have to find a video maybe of that at some point. But also shout out to John Bella. I heard he actually just retired last month. So shout out to John Bella. But yeah, other final thought I have is go Union. We're in Leagues Cup right now. Number one seed in our group. The first two. There's 3 teams. The top 2 make it. But yeah, Union are playing good ball right now. So that's pretty much all I got. And also Mets are not playing great ball, but they're not playing awful ball either at the same time. It's a weird thing. But hey, Phils are doing not bad.
Yeah, can't complain. Big walk off the other night. Harper hit a home run. Hopefully, we can get him rolling as we push toward the playoffs and hopefully another World Series. Oh, see. Yeah, sorry about the Mets, man. I'm not
It's
really.
like they've been doing better, but also like they're not doing well enough. So it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah. It becomes a problem for the Mets when that calendar hits June, and then it's all about.
There we go.
I told you it's fun,
Go.
but
All right.
I digress.
It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Very much. We very much appreciate it. Even with our little break here, we got to get a little vacation. Sometimes we got to recharge our batteries too, But thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. If you want more of us, make sure you like, subscribe in our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Big Five Pod. And of course, make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got here. We will keep you updated, of course, on everything. And until then, we'll see you next week.